Who knows what we'll talk about?
What?
We'll keep it very relaxed. Who knows what we'll talk about? Lex introduced you as the mystic muse
Yes,
of
that's
Shakespeare
true.
and Company
He
on
did.
Bloomsday. Yes, he
He
did.
did.
And I think that's a perfect title.
I think that, no, I was very surprised because last year you didn't say anything.
No, I do know, I do know that.
Yes.
You somehow dropped off the reading list.
I don't know. So it was very strange. So I was very happy. And I'm very happy for him because he's obviously found the love of his life.
Yes.
And that's very good. I'm very happy.
Well, I was just going to talk about the fact that I've always found a mystic element in your poetry.
Yeah. That pleases me more than anything. Yes.
I mean, some of your work
Yeah.
always speaks to me like a depth and a spirit below the words themselves and
Yeah.
below the obvious meaning of the words.
Yeah.
Things like Life's Strange Pause is something that comes to mind, and also
Yes.
Imprints of the Mind.
Absolute. Imprints of the mind, life's strange pause. Yes, because it is a strange pause because we don't really know. Nobody's really come back. I mean, okay, we've got some mythical stories about Jesus, possible that it's true, but we don't really know anything. After death, we don't know. We hope. And I think there is something because of nature. Nature, you know, when it dies, it always it comes back. So I have a feeling that because we're part of nature, maybe there is something.
And I mean, I think too that perhaps we don't really know who we are.
That's
And
even
perhaps-
more important.
Yes,
exactly.
perhaps who we are is much bigger than what we think.
Who was the one that said, "Know thyself"? There was a writer, maybe it's Socrates. I think it's Socrates, yeah. Know thyself. You must know yourself first before you can know anyone else or anything else.
And do you think you know yourself?
No,
No.
Absolutely not.
I don't think I know myself either.
No. I would say, generally I know what I like, what I
Yes.
don't like, but to really know that there's something in me that's particular or different, no. I would say I don't know myself.
And I wonder if that's actually knowing ourselves, is actually knowing that you don't know. You just know your preferences, you know your likes, you know your aversions, you know your desires.
Yeah.
But that's why perhaps there is this deeper current that art points to,
Yes.
that really is underneath. To quote you, is showing us the way.
Exactly. Well, okay, so you hit it right there because that's when I say I don't know, the only thing I know is through the art
Yes.
that I create. But the person, the me of, you know, with all these ins and outs. But the artist there, you get closer to seeing something, some kind of an image. But I always think we're a little abstract. I think, and that's why I believe that abstract art is showing us much more than the realistic art, if you like. I don't know. I have a feeling.
I completely agree with that.
You know, there's a something behind this abstract element that sort of is searching. There's always this search full of color. It was Van Gogh, I said, that said the future artist will be concentrating much more on color than anything else. The color in their paintings will be the vital element. I think it was Van Gogh who said that. I'm not sure.
Well, do you agree that, like music, things that take us beyond language, and sometimes words can take us beyond language, your words, in my view, take us beyond language, they are the very things that point to that further place. And that's why, as you say, the representative art, the art that is of things that we see, the sort of the old photographic art, it's just of an object. It doesn't point beyond, whereas abstract art points beyond. Poetry and music can point beyond too.
Well, I think the music is beyond all the others. Music is number one. Music is the epitome of all art because it's universal. Music, you don't need words, you don't need anything. You can go anywhere all over the world, and you can find similar. Even if you're playing an instrument, the music, you can always find somebody else and join a group. Or, yeah, I think music is number one of the arts, and poetry comes very close, because poetry is music. I mean,
Yes.
it's the music that you're putting into words. The music is that you hear on the instrument. It's the instrument that replaces the words of the human being. So in a way, we're all violins, we're cellos, we're
Wonderful.
Accordions, whatever you like. It's only that the ability to play, the ability to use your gift. Don, that's French. Your gift is particular to you, and that's what's interesting. Is that all right? So you have a musician and you write Mozart. Let's take Mozart or Jean Sebastian. You have their music, and it's the interpretation of their music that makes the difference between a great artist and middle of the road, or maybe somebody who's not so good, but perhaps in their own way just as high as the others, because sometimes you do get people that have never been introduced way up in the mountains. I remember quite a few people who are able to sing or create music without having had any intellectual input, anything. I'm talking about Wales in particular. At my time, with some of the friends I knew, it was incredible. Their music came from within. So there's a good question there. Questions that we haven't answered. There's so many questions we haven't answered.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I remember in our film, you talked about all we have are feelings. All we have are feelings,
Yes.
our own. So
Yes.
and to me, whether it's words or music or art, they're modulating those feelings. They're creating currents and movements in those feelings always, and that's our experience.
Yes, but feelings, that's a bit of a deceptive word. The feelings, what I mean more is the sensations of the feelings.
Yes.
Because the sensations are the extra part. Feelings can be, you've got feelings for everything, but the feelings for music and for art in particular are coming from the sensations within yourself, the sensations of your own interpretation.
Yes, I must say I agree with that qualification. It is the sensations. It's the dynamic sense of the bubbles up. You know,
Yes.
in our bodies, and perhaps not just in our bodies, but the sense that we have that something is
Yes.
alive and
The sensations,
vital.
yeah.
Whereas, as you say, feeling could be a more general sense, but this
Yeah,
is quite
everybody,
direct
yeah.
and dynamic.
It's the way you let's say that it's the sensations that interpret the feelings.
Yes.
In such a way that they are different.
Yes.
In the sense that they are artistic.
And I also like what you say. I think you almost preface that comment about feelings by saying, "What do we know? We know nothing. We
Yes.
know nothing." And I've always found that if
Yeah.
we can go to the place of knowing nothing,
Yes.
that's where great art comes from.
Absolutely.
Because we're not in the way of that. We're not judging it before it has a chance to appear. It appears. And
Yes.
it appears from nowhere, from nothing.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. But what is nothing?
Oh, well, nothing is everything, isn't it?
Nothing
it's
is
not nothing is a
it's-
blank.
It's a blank. It's kind of an abstract approach. I wouldn't say it's nothing. I mean, no thing.
Well, I think it's. I agree with you. I think it's
Yeah.
it's the ground in which everything springs from. So it's not
Yeah.
a void. It's a state of aliveness.
Exactly. Okay, that's good. Yeah, that's good. It's not a void.
Yes.
It's not a nothing is not a void. Void is something completely no thing.
Yes, well, void sounds
It's-
desolate, doesn't it?
Yeah, difficult.
But
yeah.
this is almost the place where everything comes from.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you think we can occlude that and miss that by all our thoughts and our ambition and our desire for something. It's if we strip that away and we go back to saying we know nothing, and we listen and we open to that's where
Yeah.
where we can find inspiration.
Good question. It's much more difficult to answer.
Well, I don't think it can be
but
answered.
Exactly. Where does it come from? That I mean, as I often say, poets are born.
Yes.
You know, you can make a poet. You can go and get a PhD in poetry and be very good. But I don't think it's necessary.
Yes.
If you want to do that, that's fine by me. But I think that the people I've known, for instance, who in my childhood, the man at the end of the streets chopping sticks, his whole life was just getting wood, and we had to chop them into, big piles of wood. I used to go and help him to put the string around the pieces of wood, and sometimes in the end I was chopping the wood to help him, and he gave me 6pence a week. And but the thing is that all these actions that you put into your life, and then with the distance of your life, you go back to those times when you had the man at the end of the street who was absolutely lost in his own world. The only thing that I remember was that he was chopping wood and making piles to earn his money. But at the same time, he had an incredible voice, and he used to sing. And that his real joy for life was to sing songs, and he had an incredible voice. And I always go back and I think that man could have been, a genius on the stage. He could have really used his voice, but he didn't. He just was happy to be able to be there, just singing. But I never forget his voice, and I used to help him chop his sticks, and he used to give me 6pence a week or something to chop sticks and put the string around them and sell them. That was his life.
But can on that point, can artistic ambition crush that very joy? Because the minute you want to go on the stage and to get the acclaim and to get the fame, that there's a Faustian bargain in doing that sometimes. That the joy of chopping the sticks and singing can be lost in wanting to be acclaimed and to.
I know. Yes, but he never.
Oh no, he never did.
Exactly, he didn't want. I could feel that he was very happy with his songs and his singing, and his voice was beautiful. So there's a good question there. When and at what moment or what time does one become ambitious enough to want to go out and show this gift? It's a gift. I don't think he ever wanted. He didn't even think about it. Personally, I don't know. I didn't ask him questions. No. Now looking back, I perhaps should have asked him questions, but I didn't. I just said, have you ever sung to anyone else? He was happy with. I think he was too shy. He was an incredibly shy man. Remember, incredibly shy. He was only okay with me with his sticks, and obviously I made him feel comfortable, and he could sing. And I said, you've got such a beautiful voice. And, that's it.
But it is the joy in the doing. For you now, painting and poetry, is the joy in the doing the work itself?
Yes.
Is that?
I think you can be completely happy in life just creating your poetry, and I don't know, somebody wrote, you're putting it in, let it float along a stream. And I wouldn't go that far.
Right.
I would say that I'm very happy when people love my work.
Right, yes.
I'm a big head.
Yes.
And I'm very happy when my poetry is sometimes published.
Or your paintings are sold.
It's not the necessity. It's not the real thing that pushes you to paint or to write. That's something else. You're very happy when people discover you and
Yes.
they love your work. That's lovely. But behind it all is the actual act
Yes.
of producing what you feel you must produce.
So you should always align yourself with that act. That's where you should always come back to. You should not be thinking that things are only of value if somebody likes
Exactly. Yes, I think so. I think it's important that you just. I know that when I paint, I forget myself. I'm completely, utterly, entirely wrapped in the painting or the writing, and I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm not thinking about publishing. I'm thinking about words, yes, and what words make the most sense, and whatever the music is always there. And I think I think it goes for all the arts. I think music is the number one master that is underneath all the other arts. Even though some people would say, no, I don't know a thing about music, da, 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 da. Yeah, they do. They're not listening to the music that they're creating. It's there.
It's there. It's intrinsic.
Because it comes out in the work, it comes out in the thing. They think, oh, I don't know anything about music. You don't have to know anything about music. It's just there.
It's a given, yes.
It's a gift.
Yes.
It's a gift.
Now, I was just going to conclude by asking you about your teaching. Because I've been privileged enough to see the early drafts of what I think is a visionary work.
Yes.
Which in many
ways.
ways.
Oh yes, called the teaching.
Yes, pulls together the very things we're talking about and locates it in a lineage of other artists through time.
Well, I hope so, but I haven't done much with it for a long time. And each time I get back, I feel that it's something. When I'm creating that teaching, it's called a teaching. I feel something extraordinary. I feel something is getting beyond myself. It's something beyond myself that cannot help but create this new attempt. It's like an attempt. It's a study. It's an étude, as they say in French. It's a study of myself with myself. I don't know if it makes sense, but
yes.
It's kind of listening to myself and then saying, is that self able to really bring out something? Because behind it all, there is that idea of greatness. There is that idea that you want to create something that nobody else has ever created. It might be nonsense. It might have been created but you're not thinking of that. You're only thinking about doing something that is unique.
Yes.
And it's that uniqueness that I think a lot of people miss the boat by not realizing that what they... at my tea parties, for instance, I have people and they recite their poems, or some of them you can see that and even with their speech, this little Ife in Ireland. Yes. I had one girl in particular, and I said, but Ife, that's superb. You're a writer. You should write. And she took my words, and she's just written a book, and it's published.
And the wonderful thing about that story too, and it's not just the end of it, but I do remember her getting up at Bloomsday 2 years ago, and crediting you for unlocking that potential. And showing her that she was that, she could be that. And
that's true.
I've always said that that's one of your great gifts, is that you've created this great opportunity for people to pursue an artistic path just by attending one tea party in Paris. I think you've changed lives. When you turn to someone and you say very definitively, you are a poet, and that changes a life.
It's true. I do have I feel that that's a bit the gift, is the ability to get behind the person and seek something that sometimes they're afraid even to admit, you know. Or, oh no, I never thought somebody would ask me to read my poems. A 65-year-old man, he said, I've been writing poems since I don't know, when I'm 15. But he said, this is the first time that I've been asked to read my poems, and they were absolutely marvelous. I said, but it's marvelous. You try and get them published. But it's not necessary if you don't want to. But I said, your poetry is absolutely marvelous.
Yes.
So you see, Sometimes you're even unaware. But it doesn't stop you writing, it doesn't stop you creating. So the real poets, I think the real artists will always manage to create.
They can't be stopped
Voilà.
by anything.
Yeah, they'll always create, even if it's just to throw the on the water and go down the Seine. That's fine. Little floating. I like that idea.
Yeah, I like that idea too.
Yeah. Writing your poem, cut it up pieces and put it floating somewhere down the Seine, and somebody might pick it up and find one word: gorgeous, wonderful, horrible, daft, a clown. I remember one I was a nurse. I was the world's worst nurse. But I remember the head of the nursing coming, and I was clowning. I was on top of the table. And she said, there's a clown and a scholar in every class. I was the clown. But it's behind the clown. Very often you find a clown. It's behind the clown that you come out with some magic formula. A clown looks, he puts his thing on his nose, and he makes people laugh.
Yes, well, the jester in the king's court was often the purveyor of wisdom to the king, could say things to the king that no one else could.
So you're a clown and you make people laugh.
Yeah.
That's fine. A clown and a scholar in every class. But I was the clown and the scholar. That she didn't know.
Yes, indeed, she didn't. And all the greater gift for us that now know you.
Yeah.
Long may you continue.